PlayStation built its empire on one simple idea. If you want to play the best games, you play them on PlayStation. But over the last 6 years, PlayStation has started to shift away from that messaging and began to port their biggest exclusives to PC, hoping to reach a wider audience and cast more gamers in its ever-growing net. But now it looks like that entire strategy might be coming to an end. According to a report by Jason Schreier from Bloomberg, Sony has completely scrapped its plans to bring several major PlayStation titles to PC, including their biggest game of 2025, Ghosts of Yotei, and other internally developed games that are unnamed. But this isn't preventing their multiplayer titles like Marathon and Marvel Tokon from reaching a wider audience on PC. They're going to still release there, but single-player focused PlayStation games may once again become true console exclusives. If that sounds familiar to you, it's because it's been their strategy forever. Build the best single-player games in the industry and lock them to PlayStation hardware that sells and pushes your consoles. It's worked for them forever, but there was always that idea that if we can just expand onto PC, there's a lot of potential to get people that we never had access to. The PC-only gamers, there's a lot of them. And Sony seemed convinced that PC was the future, until inconsistent releases, disappointing PC sales, backlash over PlayStation Network requirements, and even growing fears about the future Xbox hardware potentially causing a disruption in the space. So after 6 years of experimenting with the PC market, is PlayStation finally going back to what made it successful in the first place? It's been widely known for a long time that if you want to play some of the best games ever made, you're gonna have to play them on PlayStation. Whether you have a PC or not, and whether they come to PC or not, the main place to play these games is on PlayStation hardware. And they've delivered on this over and over and over. And it's not until after the fact that the games eventually come to PC. And I think that's the main problem with this entire strategy. What gamers have learned over the course of many, many years is that if you want to play PlayStation games, the best time to play them is when they release, because there's always that chance that they might come to PC, but it's never for certain. And if it is for certain, it still doesn't happen until years down the line. That's a lot of time that you got to avoid spoilers. That's a lot of time that you got to avoid general discussion on the internet. And that's a lot of time for you to be waiting, sitting there twiddling your thumbs, hoping that the game comes to Steam and that you'll actually have a chance to play it. So I think what's happened in that time frame is that you have a lot of gamers finding themselves playing on PC and on PlayStation, because they know from what they've seen, from what they've read, from what they've experienced themselves, that if they want to play all the best games, their best chance at doing that is by playing majority on PC and then playing the exclusives on PlayStation. It's what I do, it's what a lot of my friends do, it's a lot of what everybody does. So then when PlayStation actually ports their games to PC literally years later, you're probably not gonna double dip. You've already played the game with the PlayStation hardware, and there's not that much different in the new release, except for maybe it runs a little bit better and it's a little bit smoother. But are you paying full price just to experience that again? No, you're not. It's not a complete remaster. It's not a complete remake. It's just a port that they're charging full price for that you experienced 3 years ago. And I think a lot of people don't comprehend this when it comes to this PlayStation PC strategy. PlayStation seems to have it in their head that the reason why their games fail is because people are just over this like, oh my god, PlayStation games are coming to PC kind of thing. So that when it actually happens, they're like, meh, I don't care about Spider-Man 2. I don't need to play it. But that's not what it is. It's because you've conditioned people to probably buy a PlayStation so that they can play the game when it comes out, so that when it comes to PC later, they don't care. You're hitting a much smaller audience at that point because everybody's already experienced the game. It's not because there's no interest. I mean, kind of, but it's because the people who are interested played it already. I think a lot of this comes down to the way that PlayStation is framing things. Let's look at this for example. When you look at the Xbox games that come to PC, it's a day one release. They come day one to Xbox and day one to PC. So if you want to play the best possible version of that game and you have the hardware to do it, you'll play it on PC because you're going to get the best possible experience. It's not giving you that best possible experience 4 years later, once you've already beat the game and had your great time with it. It's giving it to you day one. And yeah, sure, that might weaken the actual hardware because now you're making the decision, do I want to buy it on the hardware or do I want to buy it on PC? And of course, that then puts you in the mindset of, I don't need this box to play my games because I play everything on PC. And I think that's what PlayStation is starting to get through their heads. If we release everything day one, then there's no reason for people to have a PS5. There's no reason for people to buy a PS6 when it eventually comes out because they'll just play everything on their PC, where they'll have a better experience, where they'll get more in-depth control of how the game runs, and they'll get the game on day one and they can play it how they want. It's a better experience for gamers. But is it a better money driving factor for PlayStation? No, it's not. In fact, it actually weakens their hardware, and it makes people really just completely give up the idea of ever owning a PlayStation 6, because why care about the exclusives on PlayStation 6 when they can be the same exclusives on my PC? It's like Nintendo. Nintendo has not ever once decided we're gonna put Mario on PC, because they know the main driving force to get people into buying a Switch or buying any Nintendo hardware is the fact that the only place that you can play Nintendo games is on Nintendo hardware, 100% exclusive, and it always will be. And I do see people bringing up this point that the next Xbox hardware is very likely to be basically a PC, where you'll be able to play Steam games, Epic Game Store games, whatever launcher type games on Xbox hardware. And that there's this group of people within PlayStation who are like, oh my God, if we see God of War running on an Xbox, I'm gonna blow my brains out. You can already do that right now. I don't think anybody gives a shit about that. Grab a Xbox Ally X and load up Steam on it, and you're playing God of War, Spider-Man, Horizon, Uncharted, The Last of Us on an Xbox device. Nobody cares, man. You know why nobody cares? Because if you're buying those games on Steam just to play it on Xbox hardware, you know who makes money from that? PlayStation. You know who doesn't make money from that? Xbox. So it doesn't matter to them. They just make more money. All it does is give them more money. They've already decided to put it on Steam. So wherever you play it once it's on Steam, that doesn't matter to them. They just care that you're buying it. It's just extra money in their pocket. So I don't think that has anything to do with this decision. I think this is 100% a decision that is 100% influenced by how do we get people to guarantee that they're going to buy a PlayStation 6. And the only way to do that is to give them games that are exclusive to the hardware. If you can play the game somewhere else, you're not gonna buy it. And that's all that matters to PlayStation. You have to be locked in their ecosystem so that they can get you to spend money on their hardware where all of the money goes to them. It's not split with a distributor like Valve and Steam. It's not split with Xbox. It's not split with Epic. It's not split with anybody other than PlayStation and PlayStation Studios and their partners. That's it. That's 100% it. The goal is to keep you locked in. Be a PlayStation Network user, spend money on PSN, spend money on PlayStation games, spend money on microtransactions, and all of it cycles within PlayStation. That's it. You gotta have a reason to buy the console. You gotta have a reason to stick with PlayStation. If everything comes to PC, there's no point for it to exist. If every Nintendo game came on PC, I guarantee you Switch would not have sold the numbers that it did. Because people would play those games on PC and they would play way better on PC. Point proven by the emulators on PC that can run every Switch and Switch 2 game better on PC than they can on the actual hardware. And I love the Switch. I love the Switch too. But if you told me for a fact that I could play those games on Steam, sorry Nintendo, you lost me. Even with PlayStation, the only thing that I play on PlayStation are PlayStation exclusives. Everything else I play on Steam. So if you told me that all future PlayStation games are only gonna be on Steam, I'm not buying a PS6. Why would I? My PC is way better than a PS6, way better than a PS5. I wouldn't play anything on that. So they have to keep us locked in. That's all that this is about. And by having these late releases on Steam, like, yeah, sure, it gets the people who are on the fringe, but you're never gonna make a ton of money out of it. That's not the goal. The goal is, by releasing these games late, is to entice the people who missed out, to give them that FOMO, to give them that fear of missing out, and to get them to want to purchase a PlayStation. Because now they can see, oh my God, God of War is so good, I gotta play Ragnarok, I gotta get a PS5 or whatever. That's the goal. That's it. It's a money-making opportunity, and it was a how do we get people locked in opportunity. But now they've decided the goal has to be PlayStation hardware, because that's what matters. That's what matters to making the most money. That's what should matter to PlayStation users. If you want to play the best games, you got to play on PlayStation. That's their messaging.